you to work it for me like this. Yeah. Show me what you want. Come on, show me what I'm working with. Yeah, show me what I'm working with.
Alright, so good morning students. Once again we meet and we were in the trial scene, that is Act 4 Scene 1 of the Merchant of Venice, and we will continue from where we had left off in our previous video tutorial or the previous class which we were having online. So all of you please take out your textbooks and turn to Act 4 Scene 1, and I am also scrolling up to the exact page from where we must begin. But before I begin, here is a thumbnail which I created with the pictures or the scenes of the trial scene enacted on the stage by some famous theatre groups. And you can see Portia dressed as a lawyer with a document in her hand, reasoning with Shylock. And the judge or the Duke of Venice is right behind her in the red suit. And then you can also see between Shylock and Portia, behind them, just behind them, Nerissa. She is posing as the lawyer's clerk. And another scene shows us from yet another theatrical performance, which is alongside. You can see Portia reading the bond while Shylock is standing beside her and pointing out the terms and conditions of his bond. So these are two different scenes from two different enactments of the trial scene by two separate theatre groups, which I have taken from the net and placed here on the thumbnail. So just for your viewing pleasure. Now let's move to the beginning of the very next page from where we are supposed to continue our class today. So we come to page 114. We had been doing the last line of page 113, and on your screen right now you can see page 114. We had Bassanio asking Shylock in anger whether one should kill something one hates. And Shylock is responding by saying, "Hates any man the thing he would not kill? Is there any man who will not kill the thing that he truly hates?" The meaning is explained alongside. So you can see that as soon as Bassanio is asking a question, Shylock is giving a prompt response. Such quick, witty responses, short responses, being given in conversation is known by a special term called repartee. You may note down repartee, R-E-P-A-R-T-E-E. So quick and witty answers provided to any kind of sharp question being asked. So Shylock responds point blank. Bam comes Shylock's answer as soon as Bassanio says, "Does everyone go around killing those things they do not like or do not love?" Shylock's answer, "Is there any man who will not kill the thing that he truly hates?" Bassanio says, "Every offense is not a hate at first. So every fault need not be turned at once into a cause for hatred. If a person is offending for the first time, has done something wrong, should we immediately start hating that person, or we should always give a second chance to that person so that the person can rectify himself? So every first offense should not be the cause of hatred for that person." And Shylock says, "What? Wouldst thou have a serpent sting thee twice?" What? What do you mean to say? Would you allow a snake to bite you a second time after it has bitten you the first time? Would you allow? So, indirectly what he means to say is that Antonio is like a snake, and he has already done enough damage to Shylock and his reputation, and he is not ready now. Shylock is not ready now to give him a second chance. Shylock thus goes on, continues with such witty and straightforward, point blank responses. Now Antonio can see that this argument is going on between Shylock and Bassanio. So Antonio intervenes and says, "I pray you, think you question with the Jew. I request you, Bassanio, please stop. Don't forget that you are trying to reason, that is, you are trying to logically argue with a Jew. He's a Jew. He won't understand. He won't listen. He will continue to demand what he is demanding. So there's no point in arguing with a Jew. You may as well go stand upon the beach and bid the main flood bait his usual height. So you might as well go and stand on the seashore and ask the waves, the huge waves which come crashing down upon the seashore, to lower their heights. And maybe they will listen to you. You may as well use question with the wolf, why he hath made the ewe bleat for the lamb. You may also go and question or argue with the wolf, that why the wolf has eaten the little lambs, because of which the mother sheep, the ewe is the female sheep, because of which the mother sheep is upset and she is crying because her babies have been eaten by the wolf. If you go and charge the wolf, maybe the wolf will also stop eating the lambs. You may as well forbid the mountain pines to wag their high tops and to make no noise when they are threatened with the gusts of heaven. You might as well go and talk to the wind, the strong winds that blow in the mountains, and shake up the mountain pines or the pine trees that grow in the mountain. They make so much of noise because of the strong winds blowing through their branches. So you might as well go and argue or have a debate with the wind, the strong gusts of wind that don't blow so hard because it makes so much of noise and causes the mountain pines to bend. And maybe the wind will also listen to you. You may as well do anything most hard as seek to soften that. So you can do almost anything that is most difficult. You may go and try to soften it, and it will be possible, but you will not be able to soften the heart of this man because he is a Jew. So you may as well do what is impossible. You may as well go and make the impossible possible, but not Shylock. Shylock is not changeable. His heart is not going to melt or soften. He is not going to change from what he is because he is a Jew. So you may as well do anything most hard as seek to soften it, than which what's harder, his Jewish heart. So must remember that he has the heart of a Jew. He is a Jew, and so he will not be softened so easily. Therefore, I beseech you, I do beseech you, therefore I do request you, make no more offers, use no further means, but with all brief and plain conveniency, let me have judgment, and the Jew his will. Therefore, my request to you is that don't make any more offers, don't plead with this man, let me have the judgment, whatever I deserve, let me have it, and let this Jew have his will. Whatever he wants, let him have it, and let me receive whatever judgment I deserve. Bassanio says, for thy 3,000 ducats, here is 6. Now you remember that Portia had provided a lot of money to Bassanio to give to Shylock to free Antonio. So Bassanio takes out double the amount, and he's not listening to Antonio. In fact, he is still talking to Shylock, even though Antonio is asking him not to argue with Shylock, not to have this debate with Shylock. But Bassanio is not listening. He takes out double the amount, 6,000 ducats, and he offers to Shylock, and he says, for the 3,000 ducats that you had given, here is 6. Take 6,000, just the double amount. Shylock says, if every ducat in 6,000 ducats were in 6 parts, and every part a ducat, I would not draw them. I would have my bond. If every ducat in those 6,000 ducats were to be divided into 6 parts, and then each part made into a ducat, that means 6,000, each ducat becomes 6 ducats. That means 6 into 6, 36,000. So even if you offer me 36,000 ducats, 6 times more of that 6,000 ducats which you are offering me, even then I will not accept the amount, and I will not have nothing else but my bond. That means the penalty of my bond. So with that we finish with page 114. Move on to page 115. The Duke says, how shalt thou hope for mercy, rendering none? How do you expect to get mercy or receive mercy or even hope for mercy when you are not ready to show mercy to others? How do you expect that you will be shown mercy in future when you need it if you don't have the habit of showing mercy to others? Shylock, in a repartee, promptly answers the Duke and says, what judgment shall I dread, doing no wrong? What judgment should I fear if I have not done anything wrong? You have among you many a purchased slave, which like your asses and your dogs and your mules, you use in abject and in slavish parts. Among you, you Christians, you have the habit of keeping slaves, and you use them just as you use your pet animals. Treat them just like you use the donkey or the dogs or the mules. You use them in the same way, even though they are human beings, they are not animals. You treat them with the same kind of treatment you give them, which you give to your pet or domesticated animals. And why do you do it? Because you bought them. Because just like the animals, so also the slaves have been bought by you, purchased by you. You have purchased them with money, so they can be treated in whatever way you want by you, because they are slaves. They are your slaves. Because you bought them. Shall I say to you, let them be free, marry them to your heirs? Why sweat they under burdens? Shall I say to you that set the slaves free? They are human beings. Don't keep them as slaves. Set them free. Give them their freedom. And marry them off with your children. Okay? So not just set them free. Treat them just like other human beings who are not slaves. And make them eligible to marry your own children. And then, why are they sweating under so much of workload or burdens? Give them the freedom. Don't make them work. Let their beds be made as soft as yours. Suppose I say to you, give them such soft beds in which you sleep. Let their beds also be soft. And let their palates be seasoned with such viands. And may I also in this add that give them the same kind of tasty or delicious food which you eat yourself. Give them the same type of food. Give them the same type of bed. Marry them off with your own children and set them free. Don't make them work. Don't make them sweat under burdens. You will answer, the slaves are ours. What will be your answer? If I say so, you will say, oh, those slaves are ours. They are like objects. We have purchased them. They belong to us. So we decide whatever we want to do with them. That will be your answer. The slaves are ours. So do I answer you. The pound of flesh which I demand of him is dearly bought. So the same answer is what I would like to give to you with regard to this pound of flesh which I am demanding as penalty from Antonio, because I have also purchased that pound of flesh with a lot of money, 3,000 ducats. In those times, 3,000 ducats was a lot of money. So I have spent a lot of money to come to this point where now I'm asking for what I have invested. What I have invested in, I have invested 3,000 ducats in buying this pound of flesh. So now I can give you the same answer. Just as you treat your slaves in whatever way you like, so also I can do whatever I want with that pound of flesh which I am supposed to get from Antonio's body. So that is my answer to you. Which I demand of him is dearly bought. 'Tis mine and I will have it. It belongs to me and I will have it. If you deny me, fie upon your law. If you refuse to give it to me, then shame upon your law. There is no force in the decrees of Venice. I stand for judgment. In the decrees of Venice, that is, the clauses of the law of Venice, there is no power which can possibly accuse me and judge me at this point of time, because my demand is legally correct. And what I am asking for, I should therefore get. Answer, shall I have it? So now give me a straight answer. Shall I get that pound of flesh or not? The Duke says, upon my power I may dismiss this court, unless Bellario, a learned doctor, whom I have sent for to determine this, come here today. The Duke says that I can use my power to adjourn this court. At this very moment, I can dismiss the court and we can meet again later on. But I have sent for a learned lawyer called Dr. Bellario, and I have sent a note to him asking him to come here and sort out this problem, solve this case. So he is supposed to be here today. Salerio says, my lord, here stays without a messenger with letters from the doctor. My lord, just outside the courtroom is a messenger waiting with a letter which he has brought from the doctor, the famous doctor of law, Dr. Bellario, and he is waiting outside, new come from Padua. This messenger has just arrived from a place called Padua and he's waiting outside. Duke says, bring us the letters, call the messenger. The Duke again uses the royal plural. He says, get me that note or the message which he has brought, call in the messenger. And we move to page 116. Bassanio says, good cheer, Antonio, what man, courage yet. The Jew shall have my flesh, blood, bones and all, or thou shalt lose for me one drop of blood. So, Bassanio in the meantime is trying to cheer up Antonio. He says, good cheer, Antonio, come on, cheer up, feel good. What man, have courage. The Jew shall have my flesh, my blood, my bones and all. Whatever is mine, before, means before, thou shalt, you have to lose even one drop of blood for me. I will not let him have your flesh. He has to first face me before he can do any harm to you. So don't worry, cheer up. Bassanio is trying to cheer up Antonio. Antonio says, I am a tainted wether of the flock. We see Antonio in a depressed mood. He is pessimistic and he speaks in a very sad tone of voice. And he says, I am a tainted wether of the flock. This is very important for reference to the context type questions. So mark it as important in your textbook. I am a tainted wether, meaning to say I am like a diseased ram. Male sheep is called ram. So I am like a diseased ram, and so I am suitable for death. The weakest kind of fruit drops earliest to the ground, and so let me. So when the fruits ripen in a tree, the one which is overripe, its stalk becomes the weakest, and then it is the first fruit which falls to the ground below. So I am like that kind of, I am also like that, and so it is suitable for me now to drop. So let me fall, let me die, doesn't matter. You cannot better be employed, Bassanio, than to live still and write mine epitaph. You, in the meantime, Bassanio, cannot have a better task to do while I die. You cannot have a better task to do than to stay alive and write a few good lines on my tombstone. Epitaph refers to the inscriptions which are generally found on the tombstones. After a person dies and goes to the grave, the body is put inside the grave. They put up a tombstone on top of the grave, and few good lines about the person and his life are mentioned there, written by family members and friends. So you can do that task, Bassanio. Stay alive after I die and write the epitaph for my grave. At that very moment, enter Nerissa dressed like a lawyer's clerk. Now Nerissa is now dressed like a man, and as I told you before, the characters, the roles of Nerissa and Portia were actually played by young boys, and they demanded from Shakespeare that they should be given a chance to appear as men in the male outfit. Otherwise, they were not ready to maybe perform as women throughout the play, and that's the reason why Shakespeare makes this arrangement. And we see Nerissa, who is actually a male actor, who poses as the lawyer's clerk, and she comes in with a letter. So the Duke says, "Came you from Padua, from Bellario? Have you come from the place called Padua? And have you come from Dr. Bellario?" Nerissa says, "From both, my lord. Yes, I am from both Padua as well as from Dr. Bellario. Bellario greets your grace, and Dr. Bellario has sent his greetings to you, your honor." And then she presents a letter to the Duke of Venice. And Bassanio says, "Why dost thou whet thy knife so earnestly?" In the meantime, Shylock is sharpening his knife, and Bassanio cannot tolerate it. So he says, "Why are you sharpening your knife with so much of seriousness?" Shylock says, "To cut the forfeiture from that bankrupt there." You can see Shylock's repartee once again. Prompt and point blank, he replies, "I am sharpening my knife so that I can cut off the penalty from that bankrupt over there, standing over there, pointing at Antonio, who is a bankrupt." Now Gratiano speaks up. So long Gratiano was not speaking, but he speaks up and he says, "Not on thy soul, but on thy soul, harsh Jew, thou makest thy knife keen." You are sharpening your knife. Keen means to sharpen. So you are sharpening your knife not on the sole of your shoe, but on your very soul. So he plays with the word soul and soul. He says you are sharpening your knife upon your soul. That means, in a way, you are killing your human spirit. You are trying to cut into your soul, and you are trying to become crueler so that you can wreak havoc on Antonio. "But no metal can, no, not the hangman's axe, bear half the keenness of thy sharp envy." No metal in this world can possibly have even half the sharpness. Not even the hangman. Hangman in the sense executioner, who chops off the heads of offenders. Not even the hangman's axe has half the sharpness which you have. Your sharp envy, the villainy or the evilness which is inside you is sharper than the hangman's axe. No metal can be so sharp as your envy. Can no prayers pierce thee? Can no prayers pierce your heart or penetrate your heart? We are trying our level best to plead with you, but nothing seems to be happening. Can no prayers penetrate your heart? So here we will stop for the day. We have come to page 116, and we have reached line number 25, 26, 27, 28. 128. Pierce thee, penetrate your heart. So please mark up to this much. I hope all of you have followed whatever I have explained, and I hope you have been able to understand. So we will continue in our next video tutorial from line 129. Till then, thank you very much.